Hi, it's Jane. I'm on Healthier You today. We are going to discuss what is a calorie deficit and how much of it is healthy. So, before we start that, let's get into the medical disclaimer. Always check with your physician before starting any exercise or dietary program. Information here is my personal research into different health topics and is not to be considered medical advice. Now, what I have noticed lately is instead of using the word diet, a lot of people are now using the word calorie deficit. These are interchangeable for many of us, but what I'm seeing mostly with the younger generation is they are calling it a calorie deficit. And the reason that I kind of wanted to go into this a little bit is I have a couple of ladies in my church that what they were talking about was that they were in a calorie deficit together. And I was like, calorie deficit? And I had to stop and think. And they were accountable to each other for what they were doing, what their plan was for their exercise, what they were eating, just a lot of things that they were being accountable to each other, which those are all great tips. And that is something that can help you. If you need that help, consider finding someone who will be your cheerleader, in a sense, for you when you start any kind of exercise or dietary way of eating or anything like that. You need to find someone who's going to be your cheerleader, who you can honestly say, well, I had 6 cookies after supper tonight, and that person can, talk you through it, tell you about it, ask why you did that. Were you self-sabotaging? All kinds of things. So, what is a calorie deficit and how much of one is healthy? A calorie deficit is when you burn more calories than you consume. Research suggests that a 500 calorie deficit may help with weight loss, but this number depends on many factors and is very different for everyone. And that is absolutely true. There are health conditions that change that for you, as well as just some external factors that you may not be in control of or not realize. We had talked about before in the obesogenics study that I talked about that environment does play a part in a lot of people's ability to get out there and do one of the simplest forms of exercise, which is simply just walking. If you don't have an environment for that, you could be in trouble that way. If you live out in a rural area where there are nice big farm roads, you may be able to walk along those farm roads. But if on your roads you have a lot of high traffic, that may not be ideal for you to do that. The fields that you work in a farm may not be ideal for walking in. They may be full of a lot of rocks, a lot of, uneven ground, and that is not ideal. So you may need to find a different avenue for that walking, whether it's just walking in your driveway back and forth, walking throughout your house several times, whatever you need to do, or even if possible, if you have a church nearby that has a nice parking lot, maybe you go to that church parking lot and walk that parking lot for several times. But then again, you run into the issue of if you don't have a vehicle, what do you do? And luckily today we have YouTube. Many of us have the ability to turn on a TV, find an exercise program to help us with that, to help exercise. So, we have a lot of options today that years ago were not options. However, having said that, for the majority of Eastern countries, people there do a lot more walking than we do here in the U.S. And walking is one of the easiest things to do. Calories are the units of energy you get from foods and beverages. Calorie expenditure refers to the amount you expend or burn each day. It includes resting energy expenditure, which is called REE, which refers to the calories your body uses at rest for functions that keep you alive, such as breathing and blood circulation. Thermic effect of food, which involves the calories your body burns digesting, absorbing, and metabolizing food. Activity energy expenditure, AEE, refers to the calories you expend during movements such as exercising, fidgeting, and performing household chores. There was a study done on people whose feet are constantly moving or people who fidget, and they found that they burn more calories than someone who is just sitting still. And that was a rather interesting study to read. Calorie deficit is when you consume fewer calories than you expend. Over time, this could lead to weight loss. Conversely, you may gain weight if you consume more calories than you need, which is also known as a calorie surplus. Other factors that also influence your weight fluctuations are physical activity and, unfortunately, hormones. Hormones play a big deal. For those of you who are still menstruating, you know that your hormones during that time of the month get a little wacky sometimes, and you may eat more than you normally do, or your weight goes up drastically during that period. A lot of that is due to the bloating, retaining of water, those kind of things, but those are the hormones that are affecting you. Lifestyle habits, stress, underlying health conditions, and of course medications, sometimes genetics plays a big thing, and once again, as we always know, sleeping habits play into that. So there is a way to calculate your calorie deficit and also to reach it healthfully. So how do you calculate it? For most people, that would be 300 to 500 calories is sufficiently to lose 1.1 pounds per week. But you do need to reevaluate that constantly, especially as you are losing weight. What worked when you were 10 pounds heavier may not work at that point, and you need to reassess what you're doing. You can calculate those things on a regular basis. To calculate your calorie deficit, you first need to know the first thing that you need to know is the number of calories your body needs to support your energy expenditure. And there are several ways to find that out. There are calorie counters, calculators. There's one from the National Institute of Health. Estimate your maintenance calories based on your weight, sex, age, height, and physical activity. There is also the basal metabolic rate, which is a minimum amount of calories your body needs to perform your basic functions like breathing. Combining your BMR and the activity levels can help you estimate your maintenance calories. And there are two formulas. And the males are 66 plus 13.75 times your weight in kilograms plus 5 times your height in centimeters. And minus 6.8 times your age in years. And I'll put that down below the description so you can see the actual formulas. Formulas for female are 655 plus 9.6 times weight in kilograms plus 1.85 times size in centimeters minus 4.7 times age in years. Once you have that, then you can calculate your maintenance calories with what's called the Harris-Benedict Formula. And you can actually look that up. But I'll give you an example. The sedentary group, little or no activity, your formula would be your BMR times 1.2. If you're very active, 6 to 7 times a day, that BMR times 1.725. So there's a little bit of difference in the calculations with that, but look up the Harris-Benedict formula if you are interested in using that. Also, a great idea to do is to do what is called a 10-day tracking. This will give you a more precise number. So you're going to track your calorie intake and weight while you're doing what you're doing right now for the next 10 days. You use the calorie tracking app, which there are many of them out there, to track your calories and weigh yourself daily. So for an accurate result, what you want to do is use the same scale, weigh yourself at the same time of day, wear the same clothes or nothing at all. It's important to note that your weight may fluctuate day to day by a few pounds due to water weight. Then you divide that total number of calories you consume for 10 days by 10 to find your average daily intake. Then subtract 500 calories from this number to determine what your new daily intake would be for weight loss. And this is what they give as an example. If you find that your maintenance calories, again, those are calories where you are at right now, not changing a thing, not changing the amount of exercise, the food you eat, those kind of things. That is maintenance calories. So if you want to find that, you find that your maintenance calories are 2,000 per day. Your new daily calorie goal would be 1,500 calories. As you lose weight, your maintenance calories will decrease over time. So you're going to need to adjust that calorie intake based on what you have for your weight loss goals. I'm going to get a drink. My throat's getting a little dry. And remember, you need to set realistic goals. You're not going to lose 100 pounds in 50 days. That's not realistic. Can you do it in a year? Yes. Can you do it in less than a year? It's possible, but highly unlikely without a lot of outside help or doing some very drastic measures, which could, in fact, harm your health. It's also important to note that a prolonged calorie deficit may affect your metabolism. It may change or slow down to meet your new calorie intake. This can make weight loss more difficult in the end. Don't give up, though. Don't give up. So how do you reach a calorie deficit? You can reach a calorie deficit by consuming fewer calories or increasing your physical activity levels, or both. Creating a calorie deficit alongside being physically active may be a more sustainable, safe, and effective weight loss method. Diet. Eating a well-balanced diet is important to achieving and maintaining a healthy calorie deficit. It is suggested that a healthy dietary pattern is key for supporting calorie needs and reducing your risk of some health conditions, such as cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. So a well-balanced nutritious diet may include fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, whole grains, proteins such as lean meats, poultry, seafood, low or non-fat dairy, and nuts. There are some tips that can help you lower your calorie intake without having to count calories. Avoid drinking your calories. We've talked about this before. Alcoholic and sugary beverages like soda, fruit juices, specialty coffee drinks can contain many calories. However, you don't need to drink those as often, and they often don't provide fullness for you. I would suggest using those things as a treat and in a very small amount and very moderate amounts. And in excess, they can actually lead to weight gain. Limit your highly processed foods. Sugar, fat, and salt in those processed foods can make those foods taste better and encourage excess consumption. But there was a study found that people who ate as much or as little as they wanted took in 500 more calories in a day, per day, on a diet containing high processed foods, compared with a diet containing minimally processed foods. Try out some healthy food swaps. Many healthy alternatives to everyday foods and drinks may help you reduce your calorie intake. For example, you can make coffee creamer, you can make granola bars, chips, instead of consuming store-bought products that may contain high levels of unsaturated fats, sugar, and salt. One of the things that I have noticed is every once in a while I like chips, I'll be honest, and who doesn't? So sometimes you might want to get a smaller package, try some of the baked ones instead. But here's a healthy alternative for that. It's going to give you that crunch satisfaction. And yes, you can use a little bit of dressing or a little bit of dip to dip it in. Not an excess amount, just a small amount. What I find is I have what is called creamy goddess dressing with avocado. And I think it's out there by Marzetti is the company that makes it. I will put maybe a tablespoon on a plate with whatever I'm eating for lunch, and then a bunch of cut up cucumbers. And I will dip those cucumbers in that or eat the cucumbers plain in place of chips. That is what is a healthy swap. Eat more home-cooked meals. That is a given. We have no idea how the foods are prepared when we go out to eat. We can guess. If you've gone to Little Caesars and gotten a pizza and you can see that grease that's on top of it, you have a clue that they used high-fat mozzarella. They used a lot of fats in preparing that, so you might want to consider that. Eating home-cooked meals is associated with better diet quality and also an increased intake of fruits and vegetables, lower body fats, and reduced risk of heart disease and diabetes. Swap out piece of fruit, instead of a bowl of ice cream. There are some simple things to do. One of the things that I love to do in place of ice cream is actually freeze a peach and then grate it. I add sometimes, if the peach is a little bit on the tart side, I will add a little bit of honey to it, mix it up, and have that for dessert. I don't miss the ice cream. So, like I said, there are some ways to do that. Exercise. Weight loss is one of the many benefits of getting regular weight loss physical activity. It is recommended that adults do 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity exercises on a weekly basis. Moderate intensity exercise includes brisk walking, light bicycling, yoga, while vigorous may include jogging and fast bicycling. Now, I will tell you, in my past, I used to run about 45 minutes a day, every day. Never saw weight loss. And I was in a calorie deficit. Those had to do a lot with issues with hormones and some other things. But I also determined while doing that, I don't enjoy jogging. So I quit jogging. then I turn to some different exercises. And that is something that is necessary anyway for your health to begin with. There are a lot of things that you can do, even if you are totally wheelchair bound, chair bound, whatever. There are exercises you can do in the bed to help increase your activity level, as to increase that activity level, and you can do it even if you're bed bound. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there, totally free, that you get to watch that can help you with those kind of things. There are a lot of things that you can do just around the house. You can dance, put on some music and dance while you're cleaning. You know, that's always been one of my favorite things to do. There are also guidelines that are recommended for you to do for muscle strengthening, such as for your back, shoulders, chest, arms, legs, that you do those at least 2 times a week, 2 days a week. You can do a lot of those in your home with canned goods. You know, pick up a pound of beans in cans and, 2 of those, use those as your weights until you get acclimated to them. Many times you can find weights that are pretty cheap at Goodwill, thrift stores, that you could pick up to use for that strengthening. Again, YouTube has a lot of videos on things you can do at home to strengthen your muscles. And keep in mind that those muscle strengthening activities are also going to help your body prioritize your muscle mass. All right, so how many calories should you be in deficit? Calorie deficit of 300 to 500 calories per day is effective for healthy and sustainable weight. And don't get hung up on that number. If you've chosen 500 per day and you only make 400 one day, don't sweat it, folks, okay? So how do you know if you're eating in a calorie deficit? If you're in a healthy calorie deficit, you should not be experiencing noticeable signs of hunger, starvation, or energy loss. However, if you are in too much of a calorie deficit, you might experience some of the followings. And these are things that should let you know that it is too much of a calorie deficit. Low energy levels, rapid weight loss, hair loss, mood swings, starvation, constipation, feeling cold. So the big thing that you do need to consider is do talk with your healthcare professional if you are experiencing any of those symptoms, especially if you are in a calorie deficit. They can help you develop a plan to consume more calories while still working on a weight loss for yourself. Those are some important things to think about and to keep in mind when you are working on that to better yourself. And that, I will tell you, one of my journals, the first thing I write in the very first part of the cover is what my goals are, and that this is a weight loss journey. Not only that, but it is a journey to a healthier me. So those are some things that you can consider. Also, don't be afraid to use any kind of mantra saying that helps you get through your goal or get to your goal. The biggest thing is to be aware of what you are doing, what you are eating, and many times just the mood you are in. Many times, let me see if I can put it this way. Cats and dogs get overweight because they eat when they're bored. So do humans. They also, when they're emotional, sometimes will eat more. We do that too. So be aware of your moods when you sit down to eat. If you've chosen, to have a snack in between meals, is it that you're hungry? Is it that you're bored? Are you being emotional about it? Is it, I don't know, maybe hangry, depressed eating? Think about those things when you're doing that. And that is what that notebook that you're using to help track will help you with, okay? Some of the things that I've done in the past, you know, those photo albums that you used to get that you could put in your purse, you know, that are hand size and they're small, that you could slip down a photo in them. I will slip down recipes into those that have helped me with my weight loss, that are something that I enjoy eating, because it tastes decent. Because not all diet food is equal. Yes, I don't mind having cabbage, but I don't like a lot of cabbage. I don't mind eating cauliflower, but I'm not going to eat cauliflower every single day. Same way with broccoli, green beans, you name it. You know, there are a lot of things that you can use that tracking notebook to help you with that calorie deficit, which apparently is the new buzzword for diets. All right, guys, that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a little bit out of it. And as always, be a little kinder to yourself. Be kinder to one another, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.